they just sent me a package.
What are you? What are you, like, some sort of like a Roomba?
No, what? How did you get a Roomba from this? I'll have you know, in robot culture, this is a smoking body.
Oh, gross.
The cinematography was really great. It feels very natural, and I think it really helps with the pacing of the story and whatnot, how it was shot. I really like the whole general theme of kind of finding love again after, you know, your true love has passed on. I think that's definitely a conversation that isn't talked about too much, and I think it should be. It's very because I understand that there's probably a sense of guilt that people feel like once their loved one or their partner has passed on and having to potentially find love again. So I think that's a really cool concept, and especially bringing it in with the whole app with the VFX and the robot who comes and he thinks that he has figured it out how to find love for this man once again. But you know, I like the whole like kerfluffle of like, wait, you didn't fill it out, your mom did. So technically, he found a companion for the mom and not him, which I thought was a really cool loop, and I thought that was really funny. But I kind of liked how, in the end, the overall premise was that sometimes you don't need to find like a romantic love again. You just need to find love again to kind of help you feel somewhat whole and help you kind of grieve through the process. I thought that was great. I thought it was more about, you know, finding joy in life again after, you know, something tragic like that happens. So I thought that was really cool. I thought the VFX looked great. I think the robot, it looked so real, and I feel like, you know, them interacting together worked very well.
I thought that the lead actor did a good job of sort of carrying the piece. It's very difficult to carry this amount of time, or really any length of time alone. I thought he did a good job of working through his performance, both within silence early on in the piece and later on, but he was carrying long sequences in what was almost a monologue type setup. I thought the electronic buddy situation was an interesting twist that I didn't necessarily expect, and I thought the piece had a good sense of self-awareness around that construct and around the disposition of the main character that made the piece very relatable and sort of very easy to get into, especially given the short runtime. I also thought the music was a good match of the piece and created a sort of sensibility around the idea that I thought worked and was consistent with the kind of humor and kind of emotion that the piece was trying to establish.
Talks about a guy who doesn't have any relationships. He's been single for years, and he didn't know how or where to find love until like he got sent with like a robot who kind of like would help him to find a good match, like his soulmate. And eventually even it's fell, but it just kind of like teaches that actually we probably don't need to have like a romantic love or like the one that, you know, that you would see like a soulmate, but someone that you can talk to, who understand, be a good friend. That's probably like the life would want from us. So it's just kind of like a simple message, but it's touching, it's relatable to all of single people out there who, you know, yearn or like hunt for like their soulmates. And it's well produced, good production, good setting, good performances, and comedic timing is also good too.
I thought that this kind of tackled and took on some really, really interesting and very hard topics with grief and moving on, and the kind of, for lack of a better word, the lack of a better term, the kind of fallout that happens afterwards. And like, there's no set time frame. There's no set, you know, path for grief and, you know, what people should do, how people should kind of react, or how they should handle things. It's different for everybody, and everybody's situations are very different. So I really liked kind of how they approached this, with him kind of at the beginning being like, oh, like, I'm not ready for this, like, I'm very, very against it, but then, like, clearly having no control because it was already ordered for him, it was already at his house, it was already, you know, kind of imposing on his life, and so he just kind of went with it, gave it a chance, which I thought was I really liked that as well. moving on can look like a lot of different things, and it doesn't always have to look like another relationship. And it can just look like reaching out, building the relationships back up again, making sure you have some form of companionship, whether that's rebuilding relationships with your parents or with your kid or with friends. I think that that's what I kind of took away from all of this, is that moving on after the end of a relationship, like I said, no matter kind of how that came to be, can look like a lot of different things, and that's okay. It doesn't have to look like one thing. It doesn't have to look like a new relationship. That's not the end all be all. But companionship, building those bonds again, that can be moving on. And that's what I really took away from this, and I absolutely loved it.
I like that concept of like, the like the chemistry. I mean, not the concept, but the chemistry of like the dude and the robot, and like them working together and their bickering, their banter. I thought that really worked, and I think the concept of like a robot that helps you find love, that is also kind of like, kind of like causes bickering and banter like that. That dynamic I think could work for a feature similar to like a what's an example, like Shrek and Donkey, or something like that, where it's like the main character with like an objective, and then the nuisance comedic relief that also teaches the main character along the way, helps the main character in ways that the character and the audience doesn't always expect. uh I think that that dynamic has worked in countless features over the decades. um and I think it works here, and I think it could work for a feature here, so